Here on DFW Sports Station, joined by the head coach of the Cowboys, brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning, man. How's your week going?
It's going pretty well. How's yours going?
It's going okay. When's
the last time, have you ever, I doubt it, but the old saying of just flush the tape, have you ever done that in your coaching career where you just didn't watch it as much, or you're like, I'm not showing this to the guys?
I mean, actually, I've been part of that, situation as an assistant, but I don't recall doing it as a head coach. I just believe in, the Monday growth opportunity is huge, regardless of the outcome of the game. And the game is the best tape of the week. You think about all the video and the instruction and the conversation that you have during the course of the week and the game plan, and then you go play the game, and everybody wants to be on Victory Monday and be off. And I just have never, I just don't believe in it. So, and I think when you do have a loss, especially the type of loss that we had, there's a lot of good learning, to go through, and you have to do it because you're never going to grow from it. I mean, learning about a situation is a lot different than growing from one. So, that's why I'm not a burn the tape person.
You were proven right earlier in the season when we were kind of talking about the red zone struggles being overblown. I'd like to ask you which one you think is more overblown right now, between the home and road topic or the issues with run defense.
I think the numbers on the home and the road. I mean, you can't deny them. I mean, there's a huge gap. There's always a gap, usually, between your home and road. And when you're really playing top consistent football, I mean, obviously your performances are very similar on the road and the home. So, but I would say that the conversation about the home and road performance is something that we're definitely talking about inside here.
Coach, I know you're never going to make excuses, but when it comes to the run defense, how much are we missing about the way you guys are built in a passing league, or just how much you guys have been decimated at linebacker with injuries, versus making it a toughness / the Cowboys can get bullied thing, versus the guys that you've lost there and the adjustments you're having to make with some safeties playing linebacker?
Well, this is the NFL, and it's a 17-game season, and I think clearly, the way you play in week 1 and week 7 and week 14, it's probably going to be different, based on personnel and things that are going on. Yes, I mean we've had some injuries, and I think we've proven over and over again if we can get through the injury challenge and have a chance to be consistent with guys playing together, for a good period of time, that we'll be where we want to be. I mean, we're beat up in some spaces. We had some guys that missed the last game, and but at the end of the day, you miss 12 tackles in a game. It's definitely going to show up in your run defense. So, and that was our biggest takeaway from the film. So we did not tackle, and that's not. Just to give you numbers, I think we're plus 97 or plus 87 on the year, as far as, missed tackles versus breaking tackles. And, that's something that we pride ourselves on. So, that's not the way we played consistently all year, but our tackling was the biggest issue in our run defense.
Mike McCarthy here on The Fan. You guys have responded to losses every single time this year. Have you seen or felt that same resolve or bounce back from the guys, whether it be practice or just in speaking with them with their mentality this week after Buffalo?
Absolutely. I think anytime you have an experience like we had Sunday, there's always more conversation, and I think it's important for that conversation to really manifest itself in the locker room, and and that's frankly what's been going on this week.
Coach, as a leader, when you look at the challenges coming out of a game like that, how do you balance, okay, I need to demand accountability from the players when they don't meet the standard in the loss, versus making sure, hey, they've got to remain encouraged and focused on the task ahead?
Well, I think you've answered it in your question. I mean, you got to have both, and it's frankly, I've always felt that it's a bigger challenge with success than when the things don't go well. So, yeah, and the accountability starts with myself. I mean, the team did not perform to the level that it's been performing the last 2 months, and those are the moments that keep you up at night as a coach. And so I've had the extra conversations, and our guys have responded. This team is high in work ethic. You can see it in their workload capacity each and every week. They've put together 2 really good days so far, the Wednesday, Thursday work. So, and that's how they have always responded, and that's a great foundation for, a great foundation in your prep to go into this next contest.
Coach, you drew some really favorable comparisons to Brett Favre when you were talking about Josh Allen last week. With Tua this week, is there anybody that he reminds you of? And just talk about how you see him as a player.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was trying to do a comparable from earlier in the week because he's playing so fast. God, his numbers of getting the ball out of his hand are extraordinarily high, and I couldn't really think of anybody that I've seen play that quickly, consistently. So, but he's obviously got great numbers. He does a phenomenal job of getting the ball out of his hands so quick, and he's hitting these speedy receivers. Their whole perimeter obviously is extremely fast, and he's hitting those guys in stride. So I've been very impressed.
Yeah, is this the fastest team, Coach, that you guys have definitely seen this year on tape?
Oh, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, clearly. I mean, they got five guys that have legitimate big time speed.
Tyreek Hill. We were trying to decide years ago, is he just a straight receiver? Is he a weapon? He's here in the MVP conversation. He's coming off the ankle injury. Bobby stole my comparison question, but I was just wondering if there's another type of threat that you can think of that can just blow the top off like this guy. I mean, is this Randy Moss type stuff with the home run threat? And just what do you think of Tyreek as a weapon?
I think Tyreek is a dynamic football player, and I think he is out of the category of a receiver or, just a weapon because, you see him do it from multiple positions, and that's part of the challenge because obviously he can, get vertical, but also getting the ball underneath is also very impactful, just for the way he goes with the ball in his hand. So, and I think the offense, stressing the perimeter, particularly the contain elements, in the force elements over and over again, really lays up well for him. So, but yes, he's very, very. I mean, his tape is really impressive.
Is this Mike McDaniel offense very similar to Kyle in what he does in San Francisco, coming from that coaching tree?
Oh, I think there's definitely similarities and things that you can see where the foundation. In the run game of they're attacking your rules. They're really attacking your rules by formation and personnel. Particularly the perimeter run. I think they do a really good job of stretching the C gap area and really challenging your edges. But obviously the personnel is different, and I think he's done a really nice job tying it to their personnel.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about something that we saw a couple weeks ago that was really interesting. So I know you once said in Green Bay that a lesson you learned from your dad's bar and grill growing up was to listen to your bartenders. And a couple weeks back, there was this mic'd up segment where Brandon Cooks scored in the Washington game, and he's on the sideline joking around about how, like, oh, man, I knew I could hit that. It wasn't in the game plan originally. I asked Coach. He put it in there. I'm thrilled with it. Is it important to you to have that culture where there are these open lines of communication where your players feel like, hey, I can go to Coach when I really believe in a concept, and it's equally important to you to say, hey, if you believe in this, I want it in there?
No, absolutely. And, and I think the best thing about that is, when someone does recommend it, whether it's a player or an assistant coach, it has to be tied to what we do. And Brandon's recommendation on the Pacer route was right in tune with what was going on. So, and it was a great recommendation, and obviously we hit it. So, that's why we spend as much time as we do together. And, and I think as you grow, it's not just the veteran and the quarterback that's having those conversations. You got your young guys. So it's all part of the the football IQ of your football team, and that's why, going back to the earlier question about how important Mondays are. I mean, you have to talk about the game tape. You get that's the tape you should talk the most about, and and the beauty of playing on the road, most of our guys have already watched the game on our iPads before we even get on the plane. So I mean, we're able to grade the video on the plane ride home, and so I just think having that process in place, the conversation, the opportunity to learn and grow from the game tape is so important, and then I think it definitely leads into moments like you just expressed with Brandon.
Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy joining us here on The Fan. Coach, we just talked about Mike McDaniel, how he stresses things with his scheme. You're going up against a guy that you're very familiar with. I know you went up against a lot when you were in Green Bay, and that's Vic Fangio. How does Vic Fangio make things difficult on an offense's game plan?
Well, I think like anything, when you look at a coordinator, you first you look at his scheme. Where's he challenges as far as utilization of personnel? How does he react to your personnel? And then you look at the fundamentals in the teachings and the discipline of how their guys are playing. And I think really, if you're looking at coordinators, particularly someone like Vic that's been in multiple places, his defenses have always played consistently to high scheme and excellent fundamentals, and that's, to me, that's a good defensive coordinator. So and that's what you see in Miami. You can see that in the earlier tapes, that they weren't as clean as they're probably weren't as clean as they are now. So it's there's a lot of scheme, a lot of things that they make you work, but it's a team that has excellent pass rush. They do excellent job taking the ball away. Their corners are top notch. So this is a very, very good challenge for us.
Yeah, it feels like, Coach, their defense gets lost with all the highlights offensively, ranking 5th overall. But you're seeing a lot of big-time talent there, and the names with Chubb and Ramsey maybe gets lost a little bit compared to their offense.
Well, I think it's like anything. When you start the season, everybody has an idea how you want your team to look and how you want them to play and have an identity that you're trying to play to. And I think when you have an offense that's been explosive as theirs, that's where the complementary mindset for myself always comes from. But when you come out of the gate like they did, I had the 170-point game. When there's an adjustment for your defense. You talk about playing with the lead. Offenses play you differently when you're playing to an offense again, and sometimes it takes the defense to adjust. And my point is, statistically, the beginning of the season compared to where they now, I mean, there's been a lot of improvement. I think it's just all part of a team growing and establish themselves during the year, because they played to a high number of points, really from week one.
Coach, when we talk about some of the linebacker numbers that you guys have dealt with throughout the season with losing some guys, one of the suggestions that listeners have brought up, or it's been a topic on social media, what about Micah Moore off ball? I know we scream nonstop to put him on the line with what a Hall of Fame type talent he is as a pass rusher with the productivity. What do you say to that idea or suggestion of, all right, maybe Micah can help there on that second level, especially in run defense?
Definitely, no. That's part of the conversations we have, but I think it really comes down to matchups. And really, football is really simply mathematics when you talk about scheme and how do they match up against your one pieces, your two pieces, and your three pieces based on how you lay out your coverage and so forth. So those are the things you go through, and because at the end of the day, it's about run defense first, but also the matchups, particularly with this group, because of their ability to threaten the perimeter so much.
Are you feeling more optimistic for Tyron or Zach on Sunday?
I would say Zach's ahead of Tyron right now.
And then final one for you, Coach. The matchup, considering what happened with Denver and Arlington and what was said after the game, is this kind of mind X's and O's matchup with Fangio? Like, is this one a little bit personal for you?
I mean, they're always. I mean, I love competing against these guys. I don't recall what was said after the game, but I'm looking forward to competing. No question about it.
Coach, thank you for the time as always. Have a fantastic trip and, more importantly, a very, very Well, I don't know if it's more important, but just as important, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and the family.
All right. Happy holidays, everybody. Take care.
Mike McCarthy, brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys.